The registration of SIM cards has been ongoing for many months now. The telcos have been organizing that, and they have been demanding just a card, one card, known as the Ghana card. If you do not have the Ghana card, you're not allowed to register. Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram, who is a member of the Telecommunications Committee of Parliament, Samonate George, though, has issue with this particular directive. He says that the law is being breached by the demand for just the Ghana card and not the passport and other documents. Here is his concern.
There is no amendment to this LI. This LI is still in force. It is the only law in Ghana for the registration of SIM cards. Now, the Ministry for Communication, the Minister, and the NCA claim that they are doing SIM registration under LI 2111. Now, I don't understand, because LI 2111 is a completely different regulation from Parliament. What does it talk about? It has absolutely nothing to do with the Ministry of Communications. It has nothing to do with the Ministry of the National Communication Authority. It is the National Identification Authority's LI. And that is the National Identity Register Regulation of 2012. Again, at the time under the NDC, the NIA was under the Ministry of Communications. So again, this was passed by Honorable Haruna Idrisu. But it was passed for a different agency of the ministry, the NIA, not the NCA. Good. Now, it was to allow us get legal backing for creating a national register. So LIs have specific titles. 2006, LI 2006 was Subscriber Identity Model Registration Regulations. LI 2111 is National Identity Register Regulations of 2012. So how you would be registering SIM cards using a national ID law? The SIM card is not a national ID. Now they go to section 7 of the National Identity Register Regulations and say that because section 7, and I'll read section 7. Section 7 says mandatory use. It says a national identity card issued to an individual shall be used for the following transactions where identification is required, and it lists 14 instances. It does not say shall be used solely or shall be the sole card. Now, again, the last point I'll make. Normally, when we pass legislation subsequent to previous legislation, and you realize that there is a conflict, what you do is you insert what we call a revocation clause, which revokes or scraps the previous law. In section 23 of LI 2111, there's a revocation clause. This is what it says. Legislative instruments made under the Identity Cards Act 1972, NRCD 129, and enforced immediately before the commencement of these regulations are hereby revoked. So NRCD 129 and legislative instruments under the Identity Card Act of 1972, this regulation abolished them. But this act did not abolish LI 2006. Okay. So on what basis are you registering SIM cards? And don't forget, the registration documents, it lists 6 of them and says that you can use an identity card. So what it simply means is I can show up with a passport. I should be allowed to register my SIM card, a voter's card. The only card which will not be allowed, per my understanding, is the NHIA, because the Supreme Court in the Ambu Ramadan case had stated that you can't use the NHIA card to determine nationality.
Well, let's remain with the issue of the registration and the extension of SIM by the SIM cards, and the Ministry of Communication has made that announcement. The people who are going to implement that are the telcos. The telcos have come together under one chamber known as the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications. Now, the chamber has some issues with the registration. It's actually asking for more to be done so that Ghanaians living abroad and also in the country would be able to take part in the self-service app that is yet to be rolled out in April. Now, the service also has challenges with the cost implication on this new announcement, but it still welcomes SIM. Ken Ashigbe is the CEO of the Chamber of Telecommunications.
All of this is dependent also on the Ghana card. And we also know that the NIA themselves have been ramping up the processes to get Ghanaians getting the Ghana card. And then it's also good that now the self-service is also going to be deployed in the middle of April. We noticed from the press release that it's going to be targeted a lot more at Ghanaians who are outside this jurisdiction to be able to register their SIMs as well. I'm hoping that with the further engagements that will be done, we could also even apply the self-service to Ghanaians who are also living in this jurisdiction. So that if, for example, you had somebody who was not well, was in hospital, or somebody who's old and cannot do it, and the agents cannot come to the person, you could have maybe people who could do it be able to help them do this self-service. And all of that definitely would help to be able to speed up how we do the registration. The interesting thing is that if you look at the data that we have from our members, you could see that, as we move from October into December, November, December, the challenges were there. But as we started dealing with the issues in this year, from February, March, you could see that the average speed per month, per week, all of that was improving. So we hope that with that kind of learning and with all the efforts that our members are making now to take the registration more to the customers. We're going into markets, we're going into communities, we're going into churches over the weekends, we're going into institutions to be able to do the registration, coupled with the NIA also, ramping up. I'm hopeful that, we would be able to get a lot more people registered.